Question number 11. Part A says, given the function, state whether the vertex represents a maximum or minimum point for the function. So what we should be looking at is this leading coefficient here, which is -1. And I know that if the leading coefficient is negative, then I have a frowny face parabola, which means that my vertex is up at the top, which is a maximum. So part A, we know that the vertex is a maximum because the leading coefficient is negative. Okay, part B then asks us to rewrite the function in vertex form. So I'm going to rewrite the function first, and as I'm doing so, I notice that this is going to be one of the trickier problems because it does have a leading coefficient other than +1. So first thing we have to do when we have that leading coefficient there is factor it out of the first two terms. So I'm only going to factor it out of these two terms. Factor out -1, divide each of them by -1. I get x squared minus 8x. I'm going to leave the +9 on the outside. Okay, now the next step is to complete the square. So I'm going to rewrite this and leave a little bit of space inside right here for my constant. And I'm going to have to add something on the outside as well. Okay, so we have to figure out what that constant is that we have to add to make this a perfect square. So I know that my formula for that is c equals b over 2 to the second power. And I see that my value of b is -8. So if I plug that into the formula, I get -8 over 2, which is -4 to the second power is 16. So I have to add 16, and now this is a perfect square. Right, so this right here, exactly what we want. We want that to be a perfect square so we can rewrite it in vertex form. Now, I have to make sure that I can't just add 16 to my equation, I just change the value of the equation. So I have to compensate by doing something else to make sure that I'm not changing the value. So when I look at this, I have to remember that even though I just added 16, I added 16 in parentheses, and there's a negative outside the parentheses, which really means that I just added a -16 to my equation. So if I add a -16, I have to make sure that I add a +16 to my equation to make sure it has a total of 0 and I didn't actually add anything to the equation. So even though it looks like I just added 16 twice, I'm really again adding -16 right here and +16 right here, which makes a total of 0. Okay, so from there, now we're done. All we have to do is write this in factored form, x minus 4 to the second power, and simplify by adding these two together. 9 and 16 makes 25. And there we go. That is my equation in vertex form.